Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of Greek wine.
Excellent.
We've got Vinos de Grecia. And for our listeners, that's Wines of Greece.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it is not your average wine guide.
It really isn't.
This book goes deep.
It does. It really gets into some of the unique characteristics of these wines, exploring the centuries of winemaking traditions.
Yeah.
These indigenous grapes that you just won't find anywhere else.
It's like time travel in a glass.
It really is.
We're talking about winemaking traditions that date back to the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
What other wine region can say that?
That's right. And, it's one of those things that I think we often associate wine with places like France or Italy, and we kind of forget that the ancient Greeks, they were really the masters of viticulture, over 4,000 years ago.
Right.
And, for them, it wasn't just about making wine. It was so deeply woven into their culture.
Right. Well, the book mentions Dionysus,
Of course.
the Greek god of wine, of course, who, yeah, it's not just about the grape. It's a whole mythology around it.
Exactly. And I think, again, we kind of have this image of Dionysus as just the sort of like party god.
Right.
But he represented the joy of wine, but also the spiritual side of wine. He was believed to have gifted the knowledge of viticulture to mortals, teaching them how to cultivate these grapes and transform them into this revered beverage.
So he is the reason we're here today.
Let's give a little credit to the human vintners throughout history.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's fascinating, though, how the ancient Greeks viewed wine as this gift from the divine, and they treated it with such reverence. The book talks about how they used clay amphorae, which are these large egg-shaped vessels for fermenting and aging their wines.
No, those amphoras, that wasn't just some ancient fad, right? I've seen some modern winemakers bringing those back. What's the deal with that?
It's funny how that happens. What's old is new. Modern winemakers are rediscovering that these amphora, they offer this very unique, breathable environment for the wine. It's not just about replicating the past, it's about understanding how some of these ancient techniques can actually enhance the flavors and the textures of the wine. They allow for this slower, gentler oxygen exchange, which can result in wines with softer tannins and a more textured mouthfeel.
So we've got the ancient Greeks, masters of winemaking, deeply connected to their terroir. And we're going to unpack that word terroir a little bit later.
Yes.
But they were trading this liquid gold throughout the Mediterranean. Makes you wonder, what happened?
Right. It's like all good stories. There were ups and downs. Empires rose and fell. Tastes changed. But remarkably, Greek winemaking never truly disappeared. Even through the Byzantine and Ottoman periods, those indigenous grapes, that tradition of viticulture, it persisted.
It speaks to the resilience of those vines. I mean, they've literally weathered storms, changing empires.
Absolutely.
So when did things start looking up again for Greek wine?
Well, I think you can point to the 19th century as kind of a turning point. There was this renewed interest in reclaiming their winemaking heritage, but it wasn't just about dusting off old techniques. Greek winemakers started embracing modern innovations too.
It's that blend of old and new that I find so fascinating. It's like taking a classic recipe and adding your own twist to it.
Absolutely.
So they had this rich history. They were starting to embrace new ideas, but what was it that truly set Greek wines apart on a global stage? We're back.
And back.
And we're ready to delve a little bit deeper
Yes.
into the world of Greek wine.
Indeed.
Before the break, we were talking about Greece's viticultural comeback story.
Yes.
How winemakers are blending that ancient tradition with modern innovation.
Right.
But let's talk about what is it that makes these wines so special?
It really boils down to that, it's a magical word almost. Terroir.
Right.
And Greece, with its unique geography, its varied microclimates, might just have the most diverse terroir in the world.
Okay, so for those of us who need a little refresher course,
Yes.
what does terroir actually mean? Break it down for me in the context of Greek wine.
Okay, so imagine this. Sun-drenched islands in the Aegean Sea, volcanic soils, salty breezes.
Love it.
Then picture kind of rugged mountains, ancient vineyards clinging to these steep slopes.
Wow.
That's just a taste of what shapes Greek terroir.
So it's not just one flavor profile. We're talking about like
Yeah.
a spectrum of possibilities.
Right.
All kind of influenced by this incredibly varied landscape.
Precisely. And those diverse terroir, they're why Greek wines have this distinct sense of place.
Right.
You can practically taste the volcanic soil in a glass of Santorini Assyrtiko.
Right.
Or you can feel the mountain air in a sip of Xinomavro from Nausa.
Okay, well, speaking of Assyrtiko, let's talk about grapes. Because Vinos de Gracia refers to them as heroic grapes.
Yes.
I love that.
It's very fitting.
These aren't your average table grapes.
Yeah.
These are grapes with history.
They really do. Take Assyrtiko, for instance. This grape thrives on Santorini, an island literally formed by a volcanic eruption thousands of years ago. And the vines, they actually grow in these, what are almost like basket-like depressions in the volcanic soil. They're sheltered from the wind.
Wow, talk about adapting.
Oh, no, it's incredible.
Set conditions.
They learned to survive.
No wonder it has that, like, crisp, almost salty minerality. That makes them so unique.
It's like, you're tasting the volcanic legacy of the island
Wow.
in every glass.
So interesting, okay.
And it's not just Santorini, each region boasts its own sort of heroic grapes.
Right.
Each with a story to tell.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those other all-stars.
Okay.
What about Agiorgitiko, which I've also heard called the blood of Zeus?
Right. How metal is that?
I know.
I love that.
That's pretty cool. So tell me about that grape.
Well, it certainly has a regal presence, right?
Right.
Agiorgitiko is primarily found in the Peloponnese,
Okay.
around Nemea, a region steeped in ancient history. And, this grape can produce wines that are surprisingly versatile.
Versatile in what way?
Well, I mean, you might find a younger Agiorgitiko that's fruit-forward, very approachable. You get these juicy red berries, a hint of spice.
Okay.
But then you give it a few years in the bottle, and it transforms into something completely different.
Okay.
Rich, structured, notes of leather, tobacco, dried figs. A wine that just demands to be savored.
Okay, so it's got that approachability,
Yes.
but also aging potential.
This has both.
Sign me up.
Exactly.
Okay. What about some bolder reds?
Okay.
I'm intrigued by Xinomavro. It's got that X factor.
The X factor. I like that.
Right in the name. So what makes it so special?
Well, Xinomavro is truly a grape for adventurous palates, I'd say. This is the grape that puts Greek reds on par with the heavy hitters of the wine world.
Okay.
I'm talking Barolo, Barbaresco. It thrives in northern Greece, in Macedonia, where it's grown on steep slopes, battling cold winters and hot summers.
So we're talking about a grape that's seen it all.
It really has.
Practically earned a PhD in survival.
Absolutely. It's a survivor.
So, okay, paint me a picture then.
Sure.
What can you expect from a Xinomavro wine?
Think bold tannins, high acidity, and an aroma profile that can be almost intoxicating.
Okay.
I mean, you get the sun-baked earth, dried herbs, dark cherry.
Wow.
Even a hint of something smoky.
Really?
Oh,
yeah. Interesting. It sounds like a wine that tells a story.
Exactly, and that's what makes Greek wines, particularly these wines made with these heroic grapes,
Right.
so compelling, is that they're not just beverages. They're expressions of history, of resilience.
Right.
This deep connection to the land.
Well, and we've covered some superstars here.
We have.
Assyrtiko, Agiorgitiko, Xinomavro. But there are some hidden gems out there.
There are.
And Vinos de Gracia mentions Sabatiano, Muscofalero, Mandalaria.
Right.
Let's shine a light on some of these underdogs.
Yeah, I love that. These underdogs, as you call them, are really a testament to the sheer diversity of Greece's indigenous grape varieties. And each one really brings something unique to the table.
Okay, so give me the rundown.
Okay.
Let's start with Sabatiano.
Okay.
What's its story?
Sabatiano, it's a workhorse grape, this one. It's the most widely planted white grape in Greece. But it often gets overshadowed, I think, by some of its more glamorous counterparts.
Right.
You'll find it primarily in central Greece, in a region called Attica. And it withstands these hot, dry conditions with the tenacity of, like, a Spartan warrior.
Talk about resilience.
I know, right?
This grape's seen it all.
It really has.
So what does that translate to in the glass?
So you get these wines that are known for their refreshing acidity, these citrusy notes, and these subtle herbal undertones. They might not have the same complexity as like an aged Assyrtiko, but their easy drinking nature and that food-friendly acidity makes them perfect for everyday enjoyment. Think, grilled fish, salads, light pasta dishes. It's a versatile companion.
Yeah. I love that each grape has this story.
It does.
About its region and where it comes from.
Absolutely.
What about Muscofalero?
Yes.
That name just begs to be
I know.
explored further.
I know. It's begging for a deep dive.
It really is.
Muscofalero, the name itself conjures up these images of fragrant vineyards, delicate aromas, and it delivers. I mean, this grape is primarily found in the mountainous region of Mantinea in
Okay.
the Peloponnese, and it's known for producing wines that are bursting with floral and citrus aromas.
So are we talking like lighter styles,
You are. Yeah.
rosés,
Yes,
perhaps?
you're absolutely right. Moscafilero is most famous for its dry rosés, which are known for this beautiful pale pink hue,
Okay.
delicate aromas of rose petals, pink grapefruit, and a refreshing acidity that makes it perfect for just sipping on a warm day.
Okay, you had me at rose petals, pink grapefruit.
Right, it's like, come on.
I'm sold.
Exactly.
But what about Mandalaria?
Mandalaria.
I'll admit, I'm not as familiar with that one.
So Mandalaria is one of those grapes that often plays a supporting role.
Okay.
But it deserves its own moment in the spotlight. It really does. It's a red grape, primarily found on the islands of the Aegean Sea, so Crete, Rhodes,
Okay.
and it thrives in those warm, sunny climates.
Island life agrees with it.
It really does. It does.
So what's the flavor profile like?
So Mandalaria is known for producing these wines with deep color, robust tannins, and these really intense fruit flavors that often lean towards the darker end of the spectrum. So think, blackberries, plums, figs. And it often has this kind of savory, earthy undertone.
So we're not talking about a shrinking violet here. This is a grape with something to say.
Exactly. It's not afraid to show its, wild side,
Right.
which is why you'll often find it blended with other grapes to add structure and complexity.
Right.
But don't shy away from trying a single varietal Mandalaria.
Okay.
It's an experience.
Well, we've journeyed across Greek wine country.
We have.
From the volcanic soils of Santorini
Yeah.
to the rugged mountains of Macedonia.
That's right.
We've met some heroic grapes,
Yes.
discovered some hidden gems.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's clear that Greek wines are as diverse
They are.
and captivating
Yes.
as the land they come from.
Absolutely. A direct reflection of the land.
We've been on quite the adventure through the world of Greek wine,
We have.
the history, the grapes, the terroir.
Yeah.
But there's one more layer
Right.
that I think we need to unpack here.
Yes.
And that's the human element.
Absolutely, because behind every great bottle of wine, there's a winemaker with a story to tell.
Exactly. And Vinos de Gracia really highlights that dedication and craft.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not just about following a recipe. It's about, continuing traditions often passed down through generations, but also pushing boundaries, embracing new ideas.
It's that fascinating tension between honoring the past and shaping the future that makes it so dynamic.
Right.
We talk about the resurgence of amphor aging, a technique that's thousands of years old.
Right.
But Greek winemakers, they're not stuck in the past. They're at the forefront of sustainable practices, organic viticulture, really focusing on creating wines that are in harmony with the environment.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
These are winemakers who are so connected to their land.
absolutely.
It's not just about producing wine, it's about preserving a legacy.
It really is. It's a very holistic approach.
Yeah, and you can taste that.
Oh, absolutely.
You can taste that care and intention.
100%. You can taste the love
Yeah.
that goes into these wines.
It's funny. All this talk about wine makes me realize we've barely scratched the surface here.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
There are so many regions, so many grapes, so many stories out there.
It's an ongoing exploration, and that's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of Greek wine.
The best part is you can drink your way through it.
Now you're speaking my language.
Cheers to that.
But before we send our listeners off
Yes.
on their own Greek wine adventures,
Okay.
we have to talk about food.
Yes, of course.
Because Greek wine is meant to be enjoyed with a delicious meal.
Absolutely. The acidity in so many Greek wines makes them incredibly food-friendly. They cut through richness, they enhance flavors.
Yes.
And they just create this beautiful harmony on your palate.
Okay, so let's play a little game.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a classic Greek dish.
All right.
You tell me what you're pouring.
Okay. I'm ready.
Grilled octopus,
Okay.
drizzled with lemon and olive oil.
Oh, that's an easy one. You need a crisp Santorini Assyrtiko.
Okay.
With that minerality and those citrusy notes, it's a match made in heaven. That volcanic soil in the wine will echo the charred flavors of the octopus, and the acidity will cut through the richness of that olive oil. It's perfection.
Okay, I'm drooling.
Right.
Next up, moussaka,
Oh.
that rich layered dish
Yes.
with eggplant lamb bechamel sauce.
Oh, for something as hearty and flavorful as moussaka, I would reach for an Agiorgitiko. Choose one that's had a little bit of age on it. Those develop notes of leather and spice will pair beautifully with the richness of the lamb and those smoky flavors from the eggplant.
Amazing. All right, last one, and this one's important.
Okay.
Feta cheese,
Oh, yes.
because no Greek feast is complete
Of course.
without it.
Exactly.
Wait,
Feta, for me, it has to be paired with a crisp, aromatic white wine.
Okay.
Remember that Muscafilero we talked about?
Yes.
Those floral notes and that bright acidity will cut through the saltiness of the feta and create this just beautiful dance of flavors on your tongue.
You've convinced me.
Yes.
I'm booking a flight to Greece.
Do it.
But in all seriousness, for our listeners who are ready to kind of embark on their own Greek wine adventures,
Yes.
what advice would you give them?
I would say don't be afraid to explore. Be open to trying new grapes, new regions. Greece has a wine for every palate,
I love that.
from easy drinking whites to those age-worthy reds.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
Talk to your local wine merchant. Do a little research, but most importantly, enjoy the journey.
100% cheers to that.
And there you have it, your deep dive into the world of Greek wine. We've only just scratched the surface, but I hope this has inspired you to uncork a bottle or three and experience the magic for yourselves. Until next time.